Hello, everyone. I hope you're having an amazing, incredible, glorious, beautiful day, night, or whatever time in between it is. Today, I decided to play I'm Making a Monster, a visual novel just as beautiful as it is upsetting. Now, before we go any further, I do want to give a quick content warning. This game does contain grief, alcohol consumption without inebriation, using distractions to run from issues, neglect, not eating or resting, discussions of therapy and, if chosen, said therapy sessions, as well as friend staged interventions in some routes. Now, I played the demo for this game on stream, and I believe it was more of a prologue. Um, it introduced us to the character we play as and told the story of both them and who I assume is their partner. During the story, it alluded several times to loss, recalling that they wish they had done something differently and that they wish they had spent more time together. But by the end of the demo, we find that the partner has unfortunately passed away. Uh, this leaves our character in a downward spiral and wishing to create a monster to fill the void that this loss has left. Now, from the theme of the story and how loss affects many people, the title of the game being I'm Making a Monster, in my opinion, is alluding to the spiral our character is in, and creating this monster is a metaphor for the person we are allowing ourselves to become through our choices. Now, as someone who has been in a very dark place before and pushed away people of my own, I want to begin this by saying I will be trying to make the best choices I can, because I know what it feels like to push away those people and become so entrapped by a reality of my own creation that no matter how many people try to help me, I can't see the truth of my situation. I don't plan on going back and making the bad choices. I don't want even a fake character to be in that situation. Um, anyway, all of that being said, let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? So, right off the bat, I do want to say when I was playing the demo, the art style, it's gorgeous. It's mostly, I want to say, watercolor. I'm not great with identifying art art styles and things, but I would say this looks kind of watercolory, maybe oils, pastels, I'm unsure. But whatever it is, absolutely stunning. All the characters look beautiful. The flowers look beautiful. I'm intrigued by not only the story, but by the art. Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and get started. I also love how inclusive this game is. Um, I'm gonna go by Betty, of course. Almost. And then we are good to get into it. Betty almost has been shut in her room for a month. She has not eaten a proper meal in more than a week. She has only drunk water under extreme duress. Today, Betty opens the door to her room of her own volition, an occurrence her friends will be equally excited and nervous about, and stumbles from its dark depths with a dehydrated wobble to her step. Fumbling for some scrap paper and tearing the lid off a pen, Betty drops onto a stool and begins to sketch. Fervor and ink splatter onto a page after page in unsteady strokes. Hours later. After many hours, during which friends come over and find Betty, are relieved to see her out of her room, and then distraught again to find Betty unable to tear herself from her work. Betty holds up a final page of formulas and diagrams. Exclaim in triumph. Yes, she says, it can be done. Betty almost bounces up from the stool, but she lacks the energy or coordination. Instead, she settles for lifting the page up, beaming at her work. What can be done? Betty jumps at the sound, almost falling over in the process. She had not noticed that a friend had crept into her kitchen while she worked. Abella leans out from the doorway, mixing bowl in hand, trying to hide her worry with a smile. Betty does not try to hide her rising excitement. Oh, Abella, she says, I'm going to make something unlike anything I've ever made. Abella continues stirring, waiting. She has played this game before. I'm going to make something beautiful. Abella raises an eyebrow. I'm going to tell her the truth. I'm making a monster. Abella nods, trying to hide her mounting concern. Abella leaves shortly after that, depositing a salad Betty promised to eat onto her work table. Eat the salad. Betty pauses her work to swallow a few bites of salad. She's not sure if she's eaten anything else today. It is hard to pull herself from the work, but she realizes that she needs food or she will lack the strength to complete it. After eating more salad, she examines her plans. Creating a living being is an exhaustingly complex venture, but Betty is nothing if not tenacious. She pursued her lifeless exile with the same resolve she now turns to her work. Nothing will make Betty waver from this task. She's making a monster. But where to start? A monster needs many parts. The skeleton, the base of whatever it is we build would be the most important thing, in my opinion. Of course, the other two are important, but I think it's the proper layer that we'll need. It's always safe to start with the base. Betty pulls out her notes on forming the monster skeleton. Betty considers the best way to build the monster's bones. Okay. I feel like are these going to be each of the layers? I feel like if there's going to be any mechatronics involved, it would need to be here. So let's do it. Full send. Using technology to make the monster skeleton would work. A skeleton of steel beams and copper wire would be effective and strong. It might even be near indestructible. Now Betty just needs to figure out how to acquire the needed materials. Gather new materials or scrounge materials from old projects. How many old projects do I have? Because that's honestly what I do. When I do art, I take pieces of what I've already worked on, and I use those, I recycle them to create new projects, and I really enjoy doing that. It makes it feel a little, I don't know, it's like a little nod to growth. So I'm gonna do that one. With enough time and effort, Betty can salvage metals from her old projects and rework it into a skeleton. It'll be slower and more work than finding fresh materials to use, but Betty can ensure quality is up to her precise standards. Betty estimates this should take her 5 months to complete. After a month of work, Abella visits again. She warily looks around the lab Betty has set up. So how is the monster coming along? It's going well. It's going quite well. I'm making excellent progress on the monster's bones. I see, says Abella, fighting to maintain a neutral tone. She takes a breath. It's warm out today. How about we go for a walk? I mean, the project's still going to be here after I get back, right? So, might as well go for a walk. Yeah, okay, Betty says, standing from her stool. Let me just grab my coat. You don't need a coat. It's June. Betty looks over from the closet she was rustling in. She furrows her brows. June? Mm-hmm. It's probably for the best that Betty is leaving the apartment. Abella brings Betty to a park she used to frequent before. She was right. The weather was gorgeous. A warm breeze ruffles through the tree canopy that frames the worn path the two walk along. Betty and Abella catch up on small things. Max has developed a spell to remove excess earwax. Corey has joined a jazz band. Betty slowly realizes that she misses her friends. Asked to meet again. This was really nice, Abella. Thanks for dragging me outside. Would it be all right if we did something like this again? A huge grin breaks across Abella's face. Of course. I'll see you soon. Yeah. It's really hard, first off, not to cry playing this. But to put myself in that position, because I would be the person to be in a really dark place and constantly shut myself in and not acknowledge the efforts that my friends were going to ensure I was happy or safe or knew that I was loved. And seeing this character make the choices I wish I had made to begin with, it's fulfilling. I don't know how else to word that. But let's continue. Betty is on to the second month of her work when she hits a snag. The metal beam bones aren't connecting as planned. She'll need to figure out a new strategy for attaching them. This will add a month to her work estimate. After a month, Betty is in the middle of some complicated calculations when Corey bounds through her front door unannounced. Maybe Betty should start locking it. You coming to the concert? Corey asks. When is the concert? Betty replies, barely looking up from her work. Oh, come on, Corey groans. The midsummer performance? I've been talking about it for weeks, remember? Be honest. Not in the least. Sorry. Corey sighs loudly. We're performing July 21st. Here's a ticket. A small rectangular sheet is dropped onto Betty's desk. See you there? I'm going to the concert. I'm going to support my friends the way they support me in my time of need. Definitely. Betty examines the page. She can take some time off to support her friend. Sweet. I'll see you then. The art is so pretty. It's so pretty. I am mesmerized by every single character. And I am also very much hoping that this is not AI. Like, if I found out this is AI art, I will lose my mind. Please, oh please. Please. On the 21st, Betty arrives to the concert exactly 5 minutes early. Her ticket has an assigned seat, and she is surprised to find that she is in the front row. Abella and Max are already there waiting. They smile when they see Betty approach. Corey was worried you wouldn't show, but I knew you'd make time, Abella confides. Of course she'd show up. There was no uncertainty in my decision. This is important to Corey. I think it was just because you've been a bit absent lately, Max explains. At that, Betty falls silent. Well, it's great to see you here, Max says with a smile. The concert is fun. The music is a bit loud at times. Isn't jazz supposed to be soothing? But Betty appreciates its energy. Corey looks like he's having an amazing time. Betty can't remember when Corey started learning the bass. Was it during... Maybe Betty will ask Abella about it later. After the show, the three friends and Betty go back to Max's to celebrate. Betty is surprised to learn Max moved apartments. When did that happen? Maybe she has been a little overly engrossed in her work. Betty promises herself to make more of an effort to spend time with her friends. Continue. After a week of struggling with a new synthesized alloy, Betty finally gets part of the skeleton working to her satisfaction. She turns to share the breakthrough with, but the lab is empty. Betty is alone. Another month passes. One morning, Betty is distracted by a knock at the door. This is odd because most of her friends don't bother knocking. Tentatively, interest drawn by the mystery, Betty crosses the room and cracks it open. Standing in her threshold is Lugsmay, a friend Betty hasn't seen in more than a year. She smiles at Betty nervously. Hi, she says. Do you have a minute? Invite her in. Of course, please come in. Betty steps aside, motioning her forwards. No need, she says. I just stopped by to see if you're free tonight. I am showing in an art exhibition, and I wanted to ask if you could make it. Her eyes are hopeful. Of course. That sounds really fun. I'd love to come by and see your work. She smiles largely. Amazing. Here's the invitation. She hands Betty a small card. She raises an eyebrow. Very fancy, she teases. Lugsmay smiles, a bit embarrassed. I'll see you then, she says. The art exhibition is very cool, if not a bit too formal for Betty's tastes. Several artists are being featured. Lugsmay's work is a collection of wire statues that move subtly when they're not being watched. It's gorgeously terrifying. Betty spots Abella and Corey, and the three of them walk around commenting on different pieces and despairing over their prices. I'm happy to see you outside your lab, Abella says as the night winds to an end. See you again? Corey asks. Absolutely. I'll see you soon, Betty says with a smile. She feels both happy and worried to see how much this pleases her friends. Continue. There are 3 months left in building the metal skeleton. Betty feels that she is on a roll. All the theory is actualizing with an ease that is relieving, unexpected, and entirely pleasing. Betty realizes that she is ahead of schedule and she can reduce her work estimate by a month. A month elapses. One day, Betty looks up from her work to see Abella walking in. She looks at the bones that she has almost finished and immediately looks away. She turns her gaze instead to Betty. It's the last warm day of the year, she says. Come to the beach with me. Go to the beach. Go to the beach. As long as we stop by my favorite cheese shop on the way, Betty says, getting up from her seat. Deal, Abella says with a smile. After stopping at the cheese shop to pick up some things to snack on, Betty and Abella walk along the beach. There's a cool breeze coming off the water. After a bit, they find some large flat rocks to sit on. How are you doing, Betty? Respond genuinely. Don't keep anything inside. Honestly, not so good. The work has been going well, but no matter how much progress I make, there's no sense of accomplishment. Everything feels so is saturated and far away. Abella nods solemnly. No one is expecting you to get over it right away. It's just hard to watch you destroy yourself over this. Betty lets out a slow breath. I'm trying my best. Abella puts a hand on her shoulder. I know. Continue. Work continues with its usual ups and downs, but Betty can tell the end is in sight. Anticipation rises as she visualizes the remaining skeleton parts coming together. Betty is working late one night, or is it early one morning, when Max comes barging through the front door. Hello, he says. Oh, Max, oh, okay. Max is a man. Sorry for misgendering you earlier, Max. If I did, I assumed your gender. That was wrong of me. I apologize. When Max comes barging through her front door. Hello, he says. I need help with some work that's got your name on it. Ask him to explain. With great pain, Betty tears her eyes from the diagram she's halfway through drawing. What is it? I'm gonna make the best haunted house this world has ever seen, Max declares loudly. Agree to hear more? I'm listening, but that doesn't mean I'm agreeing to anything. Okay, wait, let me back up. So, haunted house. What do all haunted houses need? Guess. Ghosts? No, wrong. Haunted houses need skeletons, Max exclaims joyfully. And do you know who can make skeletons? Let Max finish. Betty sighs. That's right, you can make skeletons, or at least make them move. Actually, I don't know. Can you make or move skeletons? Admit to bone control proficiency. I have dabbled in necromancy in the past. See? I knew you'd be perfect for the job. Agree to help. Okay, Betty concedes. I'll help you with your haunted house skeletons. A huge smile spreads across Max's face. I promise you won't regret it. After a few weeks of work on the synthetic skeletons, which Betty actually finds somewhat enlightening and decides to bring concepts from her own monster crafting, the haunted house is ready. Betty and Max hide and watch customers scream as they realize the skeletons are moving towards them without strings. The dancing skeleton who offers to waltz is Betty's favorite. Max likes the other one who walks along the ceiling and chatters its teeth. All of Max's coworkers are duly impressed, and Betty is invited to their dinner to celebrate the haunted house's success. It's a really fun evening that feels well earned. After 5 months, Betty has finally completed the monster's bones. Amazing. A small thrill flows through her. She steps back and examines her work. Yes, it is definitely something beautiful. But her growing smile falters in the face of a startling thought. Would she have liked it? I think she would have. I think she would have liked it. If not the item in and of itself, she would have liked the extreme effort that went into crafting it so I'm going to say yes, of course. Yes, of course she would have liked it. She would have found it beautiful, fascinating, breathtaking. She may have even loved it. Betty returns to her notes. She needs to decide which part of the monster to construct next. Well, next is going to be the nervous system. We're working from the inside out. For the nervous system, we're going to go necromancy. Oh, I didn't read before I clicked it. I'm sorry. Pause to read. An organic animal brain is the option that most closely resembles the original. It's also probably the most sophisticated option, as long as you're not squeamish. Betty definitely is not squeamish. Finding organs to use could pose a challenge, though. Find donated organs, lab grow the organs. We're going to lab grow the organs. Absolutely. Betty has never grown an entire organ before, but she's played around with growing something from custom engineered cells, and as her teachers used to say, anything is possible with a little or a shit ton of magic. It'll take more time than finding whole organs, but means Betty won't have to compromise on her design. Also, Betty won't need to worry about diseases. Overall, Betty estimates it should take her 6 months to complete the work. A month passes. Corey drops by one November afternoon and deposits a cookie on Betty's desk. You can make this? Betty asks. Corey nods, and Betty snatches it up and begins untying the loose wrapping. There's more where that came from, Corey laughs. Oh? Betty asked between mouthfuls of cookie. We're hanging out at Abella's tonight, and I'm bringing 2 boxes worth. Fall into cookie temptation. Always. Always go for the cookie. Is that an invitation? Corey smiles. Do you want the cookies or not? Absolutely, I want the cookies. Corey's smile widens a few notches. I'll see you tonight then. Continue. Betty arrives at Abella's apartment that evening. She hesitates for a moment. She hasn't been here since before. She reminds herself that cookies are waiting on the other side of that door and knocks. Abella opens the door with a smile. I'm so glad you made it, she says. Abella's apartment looks the same as Betty remembers. As she walks further in, she sees Corey and Max already settled in the living room. The promised cookies are laid out on the coffee table. Betty spends time cautiously discussing how things have been. She tries not to say too much about the monster. It's not too hard when she keeps grabbing more cookies. Max eventually suggests starting a movie, and Betty glances at the time. No, we're staying for the movie. Betty settles in to rewatch one of Abella's favorite movies. She feels herself relaxing by fragments as each minute passes. Corey and Max argue over plot holes and continuity errors, while Abella hushes them during her favorite scenes. It all feels so warm and familiar, and it stirs an ache in her heart. There's too much missing from this picture for it to feel complete, but maybe this is what it feels like to pour paint over an old canvas and create something new. Continue. Betty hits a breakthrough in her work. The brain's pattern recognition is progressing far above expectations, as are the peripheral nervous system's response times. The advances put her about a month ahead of schedule. Betty is ecstatic. Another month elapses. Before Betty realizes it, the year is over. It's been almost 9 months since. Betty examines the letter in her hand. It's from Abella. She's inviting her to a New Year's party she's hosting. Behind the open letter, the huge pile of work on her desk looms. She had hoped to finish prototyping a new design for a connecting piece this week. Now we're going to a party. We're going. Betty has been working diligently, keeping long hours and taking little time to rest. she can spare the time for a break this evening. She calls up Abella and let her know that she'll be able to make it. She sounds very pleased, and it makes Betty smile. Continue. Betty arrives at Abella's party in fancy clothes that pinch a little. Abella opens the door with a huge grin, and Betty promptly shoves a bottle of champagne in her face. "Thank you for inviting me," she says. "Of course," Abella exclaims. "Thank you for coming." She takes the champagne and then Betty's coat, showing her inside. What follows is a fun night of reminiscing and declaring next year promises. The only awkward moment is when someone who's a friend of Betty's mentions Delaney. The room falls silent briefly as someone else pulls his friend of a friend away. Betty can very clearly hear them having a terse conversation about not mentioning her in Betty's presence. Betty resolutely ignores this. Soon after, she notices Max and Abella watching her like she might break into a million pieces. Betty also resolutely ignores this. Corey comes over with a fresh glass of champagne, and they all toast to friendship, and everything is fine after that. Or at least that's what Betty tells herself. The room counts down to midnight and erupts in cheers and hugs. Betty sends sparks flying over the champagne flutes, much to the party's enjoyment and Abella's nervousness. She double-checked with Betty that it was safe to drink at least a dozen times before letting her guests toast. After midnight, many of the guests begin making their goodbyes and heading home. The party slowly grows quieter and warmer. We're going to talk to Abella. I think Abella's been there the most. Betty finds Abella in the kitchen. She's packing up leftovers and loading the dishwasher. We're gonna offer to help. "Need any help?" "Oh no, I'm almost done," Abella replies. "Did you have fun tonight?" Reply honestly. It can be hard sometimes, having fun around so many people. It just reminds me that she's not here. She rubs her face, hiding her expression for a moment. But it was good being here. I'm glad that you came anyways. It means a lot to me to have you here, and I'm happy to see you taking a break. Abella pauses for a second. I'm worried about you. It's been more than half a year and you're still shut up in your lab most days. Worrying about if you're eating, sleeping, it's tiring. I really care about you, and seeing you like this is hard. And I know you need time, and I've given you your space and time, but it's clear that things aren't working as they are. Have you talked to anyone about Delaney? Explain that it'll be different once the work is done. I promise to get help. Thank Bella and leave. We're gonna promise to get help. You're right. I haven't spoken to anyone. I promise I'll talk to someone. Thank you. And I'm always here if you need me, but I think you do need to look into talking to a professional. I will. Thanks. Continue. After wrapping up her conversation with Abella, Betty chats with a few more friends. Some silly party games are played, and Betty finds herself laughing more than she has in a long time. A few hours later, Betty makes her goodbyes and heads home. It's quite a bit later than she expected to be out, but somehow she can't find the energy to be anxious about it. It was nice seeing her friends. The warmth of that feeling follows her home. Betty is surprised by how easily everything is coming along. The work is less tiring than usual, and it feels like Betty could spare some energy for other activities without worrying about it running out. A month of work later. On January 14th, Betty realizes it's Abella's birthday tomorrow. She glances over at her phone. It's probably not too late to make plans. Try to put something together last minute. Betty opens her phone and calls Max. A picks up on the second ring. Am I dead, or is this not a call from the renowned hermit Betty Almost? Make a sarcastic joke. No, this is your landlord. I'm kicking you out in order to fill your place with rubber ducks. The monarch of humor returns at last, cries Max. Yes, thank you. Jokes aside, I'm calling about Abella's birthday. The very birthday that is in fact tomorrow? Max replies. Yes, that is the one. Well, you're in luck because I've already made all the plans. We're meeting at Corey's tomorrow at 2. Max proceeds to list a series of events that Betty realizes will take up the entire rest of her afternoon and evening. Agree to the whole event. Sounds great. I'll be there. Amazing. Abella will be so happy you can make it. Betty can hear Air smile through the phone. I once again misgendered Max. I don't know if Max is all genders, if they are okay with all genders, because it was he earlier and now it's Air. At least I don't know if that's how you say it. I would assume it is, but again, I'm making too many assumptions tonight. Betty has a really enjoyable afternoon with her friends. They play some party games at Corey's and then go see a movie. There are too many aliens and laser beams in the film for Betty's liking. Excuse me? Oh. Fake aliens and laser beams. I see. Okay. That makes more sense. Yeah, I can't get behind that. Human stuff. No. The stuff they depict in cinema here on Earth, so unrealistic. I'm not for it. But Abella loved it. That's all that matters. The evening concludes with a visit to Abella's favorite restaurant. Betty finds herself smiling and laughing more than she has in a long time. At the end of the evening, Abella gives Betty a huge hug. Thank you so much for coming. It really means a lot to me. Continue. When Betty gets home, the scattered pieces of the monster are waiting for her. Guilt rises, sudden and overwhelming. How could she have been out for so long and just left her like this? She gazes at her part-made form and, as a sinner before her God, promised to do better. And yet, a small part of her starts to wonder if maybe she's already giving enough. Betty spends some time testing the nervous system, watching as inputs are translated to outputs and back, watching different parts light up and process information. She layers together webs and connecting nodes, creating meaning interlinked. She knows with as much certainty as she's had about anything that the monster can awaken, and when she does, she will know all. Another month passes by. Betty is washing up some mostly non-caustic chemicals it spilled when her phone starts ringing. She finishes cleaning everything and checks her missed calls. Max has been trying to reach her. Call Max back. Without thinking much of it, Betty calls Max back. Hi, Betty. I'm glad you called back. What's up, Max? I was wondering if you're free this afternoon. I wanted to chat. Sure, come by whenever. I'll be home. Great. A few hours later. Betty is pulled out of her work by a knock at the door. She makes her way over and finds Max holding a large bag. Okay. I brought snacks, Max explains. Faye pushes past Betty and begins moving papers to make room to set up. Those are organized. Betty grabs the papers from Max's hands and begins putting them away more delicately. Sorry, but hey, I brought your favorite. Max pulls out containers of assorted cheeses. All right, you're forgiven. Hand over the cheese. Max obliges, and the two catch up as they compare cheeses from the selection Max brought. After some time, Betty asks, "Did you have something specific you wanted to talk about?" "Yes, actually. I appreciate all the effort you've been putting into looking after yourself, and I want to make sure you know that. I was really worried for a really long time. It was hard to see you like that." Max smiles, but Betty can see the pain Faye's trying to hide. "And it's been so nice seeing you more often. I missed you so much." Apologize for the hurt she'd caused. "I'm sorry that I hurt you. Things were hard for me, but they were hard for you too." Oh. Got me a little choked up there. That's... God. Okay. Max waves fair hands. "I didn't mean to make you apologize. I just wanted to explain that I saw the work you're putting in and that it meant a lot to me." Faye pauses and takes a breath. "I don't hold anything you did against you, and I didn't take it personally, but I'm just so happy you're doing better now." But she's not who she once was. "I am better, Max, but I don't want to mislead you. I'm not at the place I used to be. I'm not sure I'll ever be like that again." "I understand," Max says quietly. "I don't expect you to be. I'm happy with the you that you are now. And I'm happy you're letting us in and letting us support you where you need it." They share a hug, and Betty is definitely not crying at all as they finish the last of the cheese. In real life, Betty is also not about to cry at all. Finally, Max gets up with a smile. "This was so nice. Thanks for having me over." "Thank you for all the cheeses." "My pleasure. See you again soon?" Betty smiles. "Definitely." Continue. Let me wipe my eyes real quick. God. Oh, this is so touching. This whole story, it's crafted in such a beautiful way. Only people that have felt this, I feel, only they can write something like this. And I'm so sorry to the creators for whatever inspired them to do this. The next month of work is a bit frantic. Betty hit a snag and works doubly hard to make up for lost time. She's still aiming to be done in 1 month. After a month of work, one day, while in the middle of some very complicated calculations, Betty gets a text from Abella. It reads, "Got a minute? It's important." Then Betty's phone starts to ring. Pick it up. "Hi, Bella, what's up?" "Hi, is this an alright time? I wanted to revisit our conversation about talking to someone for help." "You're out." "I'm listening," Betty says tentatively. "Thank you," Bella says. "I found someone I think could be really great for you. I'm just asking you give them a try." Try therapy. 1 session, Betty concedes. She knows it will make Abella happy. Continue. A week later, Betty shows up at the therapist's office. She talks to the therapist about the work. She does not mention Delaney. It goes okay. Betty feels a little better by the end of it, but she is a bit stressed about the time she's losing that could be spent working. At the end of the session, the receptionist asks if she'd like to book another one. Book another session. Do it. Therapy has been wonderful. I've even gotten to a point where I feel like I only need to see my therapist every great once in a while, and he feels the same way. So, do the therapy. And I'm talking to all of you too. Anyone watching this. Everyone should go to therapy. Everyone. Not because you need it, not because you need to be better because you've gone through something horrible and traumatic and painful and all of the bad things. You should go to therapy because you want to understand yourself better. And there are so many different types of therapy. There are so many different types that there is something for you to realize things that you need to realize. And it's not like what you see on TV. It's not. Sometimes it's just a fucking yap session with someone. And it gets it off of your shoulders because you are carrying around tremendous weight. Whether you think so or not, stress is everywhere, good and bad stress. And to talk it through with somebody who you vibe with when you may not have another outlet, or you don't want to feel like you're stressing your friends out by always talking to them about your problems. This is a professional whose job is to have a fucking yap session with you if that's what you need. So, do it. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Betty books another session for the following week. Finally, after 5 months of work, the monster's brain is complete. That's really cool. Really cool. Betty steps back and takes a look at her work so far. The metal beam skeleton paired with the organic nervous system is breathtaking. But Betty notices flaws here and there. The work isn't good enough. She begins to doubt if what she's making will even come close to what she had envisioned. With the final piece, everything will coalesce or come apart. No matter, Betty isn't one to not finish what she started. All that remains is the monster skin. We're going plant magic. We wanted a little bit of everything. Plant magic it is. The flesh will cover the monster, finally allowing it to exist in its full glory. Now to choose the method by which she shall complete the monster. The best way to apply plant magic to skin would be to form it from bark and leaves. Betty checks her notes and realizes she's going to need a lot of plant materials for this to work. We're gonna grow the plants, man. We did everything else. We did everything else the long way. To be more thorough, we're gonna grow these damn plants. And I think growing plants will be good for her too. Betty doesn't have experience shaping plants into skin, but she's confident she can get what she needs with enough time and effort. Growing it herself will allow for more control in any case, and it'll be a great learning experience. After doing some preliminary research and checking her existing notes, Betty estimates she can complete the outer layer in 3 months. After 1 month of work, on April 2nd, Betty packs a small bag. She includes water, a candy bar, an umbrella, and her keys and wallet. She takes a considering look at her phone. She wants to be alone today. Pack the phone. Betty throws her phone into her bag, throws her bag over her shoulder, and walks out the door. The walk to the cemetery is long, but Betty doesn't mind it. When she gets there, she realizes she doesn't know where to go. She's never been before. After a little while of meandering, she finds a groundskeeper who points her in the right direction. Soon after that, she finds the grave, Delaney's grave. Betty sits down in front of the grave. She watches it silently for a while. Finally, she speaks. We're gonna say hello. I feel like we're gonna be able to say other things to her, but we should start with hello. There we go. Hi, Delaney. I really miss you. It's hard being here without you. I'm doing okay. I'm working on a really cool project. I also started therapy recently. I told my therapist about you. It kind of helped to talk about you with someone who didn't know you. They didn't judge me or anything. That was nice. They even mentioned some things I can do when missing you hurts too much. I've been trying to do the exercises. They help. Our friends have been working really hard to drag me out to do things besides work. It was a bit frustrating at first, but I think I appreciate it. They really care about me. I'm trying to be a better friend to them. When you died, it was like everything that mattered left with you. I couldn't watch any of my favorite movies because all I could remember was watching them with you. And then I would remember you were gone and everything would hurt all over again. Do you know how many times I picked up the phone to call you only to remember there was no one to answer? You died a year ago, but it still hurts as much as if it happened yesterday. It was so hard without you. It's still hard now. You were so much more to me than just a friend. It felt like you fit so well into my life. I miss you deeply. I just want you to come back. And I know that can never happen, but that doesn't stop me from wanting it. I'm half made again. I am weak and faulty without you. You made me better and now I'm lost. I'm so mad at you for dying. I know it wasn't your fault. But I can't believe you left me here all alone. It hurts so much. And it feels like when I'm working, it's the only time I don't feel a knife twisting into my chest. I hate you for leaving me, but I love you so much. The work I'm doing, I'm building a monster. It's for you. I know. I know it won't be you. It probably won't be anything like you. But when you died, it felt like you took a part of me with you. I'm trying to get that piece back. And I know this monster won't be able to do that, but in my heart, I feel like it could. The monster will be beautiful. And it's all for you. I hope you hate it. Betty wipes at her tears and gets up. She rummages in her bag, pulling out the candy bar and leaving it on top of the tombstone. On her way home, Betty notices her phone is ringing. It's Abella. Hi, Abella. Hi, I just wanted to check in on how you're doing. I know today is... went to the cemetery today. And how did that go? She asks tentatively. Respond honestly. It was really hard, but it was nice talking to her, even if she couldn't reply. Do you want to talk about it? Abella asks. She does. Betty pauses for a moment. When she speaks, it feels as if she's pulling words from deep within herself. If it's okay, could we talk about Delaney? Of course, Abella says softly. I'll be over in a minute with some tea. Before Betty can explain how unnecessary that is, Abella has hung up. There's a knock on the door. She arrives soon after Betty gets home, and the two sit and chat about Delaney long into the night. It hurts, but it is cathartic. By the time she sees the sun rising outside her window, Betty feels very slightly better. The immenseness of her loss feels like it could be surmounted one day. The following night, Betty tosses and turns, trapped in the restless sleep of the living. She dreams that she's finished the monster, laid the final piece, and awakened her. She opens her eyes, and it's a copy of a face that she used to know. A face she still loves. Distorted, repeated, and fragmented, almost past recognition. Speak to her. Hello, Betty says. I've been waiting for you. She opens her mouth to speak, and fear rises, quick and clawing. What would be worse? That the monster really is Delaney, or that she is not? Her glazed gaze digs into Betty's eyes. She says, You were selfish to have made me. How could you? How dare you? You inspire only hate in my rooted, molding heart. No. Betty wakes up with a start, shivering and panting. She curls into herself and doesn't sleep again that night. Betty hits a hitch with her work. Frustrated, she redoes her calculations and adds a month to her estimated timeline. One sunny spring morning, Betty is making coffee when she notices the tulips in the yard have begun to blossom. She remembers that Corey is quite fond of tulips. Invite Corey to a tulip farm. Betty calls up Corey. He picks up immediately. Is everything okay? Yeah, I just wanted to know if you'd like to go see tulips with me. Are you serious? Yes, I would absolutely die to go see tulips with you. I'll pick you up in 20 minutes. Before Betty has a chance to say anything else, Corey hangs up. As promised, Corey shows up 20 minutes later. He plays folk rock on over the drive to the tulip farm. The flowers are stunning, lined in rows of solid colors. They fill the eye, creating a world of blooms. Corey and Betty take a few photos and pick up a couple tulips to take home with them. As they walk back to the car, Corey puts a hand on Betty's shoulder. I really appreciate you calling and inviting me up, he says. It was hard to pull myself away from the work, but this was really fun. Thank you for coming here with me. Corey smiles. I hope I see you again soon. The work has advanced well since last month's setback. Looking over the range of skin prototypes, Betty feels good about her progress so far. A month later, Betty's in the middle of working out a spell when her phone rings. She glances at the offending device, weighing how much of a distraction picking up would be. Pick it up. Hello? Hi, Betty. It's Lex May's voice. I know it's been a while and this is really last minute, but are you free today? Make time for Lex May. Yeah, I've got time, Betty says. Outstanding, Lex May replies. I'm taking you painting. Luxmay meets Betty at a park, and she's visited before, but not in a long while. She helps her carry easels, canvases, and paint from her car. She has a spot in mind to set up, the top of the small hill overlooking a pond on one side and a small clump of trees on the other. As Luxmay sets up the easels, nerves begin to gather in Betty's chest. Confess to a lack of painting skills. Same. Luxmay, I don't know how to paint. I can give you some pointers if you want, but why don't you just jump in and play around with it? Whatever you make doesn't need to be any specific way. Ask for the pointers. I'd take some pointers. Luxmay smiles. My main advice is not to be intimidated by the paint. Use as much as you want and definitely use more than you think you need. Try making anything you want, and once you're a bit further into it, I can give you specific advice. Sure, thanks. At least Luxmay won't feel bad if she wastes a bunch of her paint. Try painting something. Betty tentatively drips a brush into some paint and begins moving it across the canvas. At first, she focuses on feeling the brush stutter and slide across the surface, but soon she tries to imitate things she sees. The painting ends up looking like a jumbled mess of green and blue, but Betty kind of likes it. Luxmay walks over to take a look, smiling hugely. Looks great, she says. I love the way you blended the colors. It feels delicious. Betty thinks she's just being nice, but it still makes her smile. It really is quite a bad painting. She shows her how to wash the brushes, and Betty sneaks a peek at her painting as they put them away. Luxmay has painted a night sky reflected in a pond. Fish jump from its waters and leaves and float along the surface. Along the edge of the pond are piles of bones. It looks nothing like the bark. Luxmay casts a spell that Betty doesn't entirely follow, and the water begins to ripple very subtly. She winks at her. Compliment the painting. Wow, Luxmay, that's incredible. She smiles. Thank you. It comes with years of practice. She was never good at accepting compliments. Betty is glad that some things haven't changed. Betty helps pack the easels and carries them and the paintings back to Luxmay's car. She drops her back at home and they say goodbye with a wave. Betty's reached a block in the spell she's crafting when a conversation with Abella comes to mind. She'd been working on something that needs to be stretched but not lose its stability. Referencing her descriptions, Betty finishes the test-ready spell formulation. A few days later, the skin patch she's working on is finally behaving the way she needs. A current of excitement hums just below Betty's skin. She can't wait to try applying the spell to more of the skin tomorrow. Another month passes. Max barges into Betty's apartment one July day. Betty doesn't look up. She is far past used to her friends bursting in unannounced. Hi, Betty. We're going to the beach. Do you want to join? Go to the beach. Sure, Betty says, putting down the prototype she's working on. When are you leaving? Right now. Betty quickly packs the small bag and follows Max outside. Abella waves at her from the passenger seat of Corey's car. I'm glad you could make it, she says. What follows is a pleasant afternoon at the beach. Abella brought cheese for Betty, which makes her smile. Max and Corey get into a water fight while Betty reads a book under an umbrella and Abella suntans. It is perfectly lovely. Once everyone is beached out, Corey drops Betty back at home. She waves as the car pulls away. At long last, after 2 months and 1 year of work, Betty has completed the monster. Betty steps back to take her in. She looks upon her creation. Her skeleton is metal beam, her brain is organic, her flesh is bark. Yes, she is truly beautiful. She too is an abomination. She feels. Without yet knowing her, Betty feels a vast and deep love drowning her. She has poured herself into her, and here she lies, waiting. Cast the final spell to awaken the monster. Ooh. Can I save here? I'm gonna save here, because I want to awaken it. Save here. Betty casts the last spell and the monster opens her eyes. She looks upon Betty, expressionless. Speak to her. Can you speak? She asks. She shakes her head softly. She holds out her hand. Betty takes her hand very gently. She puts her other hand on top of hers. Betty begins to cry. Time passes. Over the following months, Betty retreats further from the world. She spends all her time with the monster, hoping she'll one day be more than she is. Monster is very kind. Betty needs to keep reminding herself that it's not the monster's fault. Nothing is her fault. She stays with Betty and is patient and understanding. She's always there for Betty, always trying to help. She's everything she wanted. Betty's friends keep reaching out, trying to make plans, but Betty pulls herself further and further away. She has the monster now, and she's everything she needs. How could she leave her? And yet, everything about the monster only makes Betty think of how she's not but a hollow imitation. The monster will never be Delaney, but Betty will never be alone again. If Betty feels bitterness that the monster keeps her from seeing her friends out of shame, out of horror, out of love, then she buries that feeling deep within herself. And if Betty feels hollow, an emptiness that grows inside her each night, she ignores it. Everything is as it should be. The end. Oh, wow. Okay. I'm going to read this to myself. If you would like to pause this to read it, that would be wonderful. But I will be right back. All I can say is wow. This whole thing is it's beautiful. There is so much beauty and thought that went into this game. I have been tearing up this entire time. It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. Oh my goodness. Every aspect is just beautiful. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I am going to not awaken the monster, but that's all I'm going to play through because I refuse to make the bad decisions. I'm not doing that. Betty pauses, hesitating before the final spell. Creating life is a large responsibility. It introduces moral quandaries she has been ignoring up until now. But does that really matter? No sin is too great when in service to her work. She's already come this far. It would be a waste not to take the final step. But does Betty really need the monster? Betty has friends. Good friends who are there for her when she needs them. What about Delaney? Wouldn't leaving everything in this undone, sorry state be betraying Delaney? Abandoning her? And yet she knows she of all people wouldn't want this. Let her go. As Betty gives up on completing the monster, she feels herself letting Delaney go. It's scary and frustrating. Her heart hurts. Call a friend. We're gonna call Max. The phone rings for exactly 18 seconds. Betty knows because she counts them. Betty? Hi, Max. Betty pauses for a moment. I need to talk to you about the monster. Max promises to be over soon, and Betty sits down on the floor. She knows it'll be okay. She has friends who love her. She won't be alone soon. Time passes. With the monster behind her, Betty struggles to fill the sudden emptiness she leaves her with. Max and other friends come and spend time with Betty. Betty finds it easier to be honest with them, and they seem to help stop the devouring void from overtaking her. Slowly, very slowly, Betty discovers she can leave the monster behind. She starts seeing her friends at least once a week, rejoining the schedule of alternating Saturday brunches and Friday movie nights. It can be tiring, and sometimes Betty wants to bail on their plans, but it's also enjoyable, and Betty can feel the way it connects them together. Each get-together makes it a little easier to reach out, and time passes. Betty finds other projects to pursue and forces herself to rest, eat, leave the apartment. A lot of what she discovered while monster making is a state of the art, and Betty learns that she enjoys sharing her findings and inventions with others. Not everything is perfect. Betty knows things can never go back to the way they were. She can never get Delaney back, and she'll never again be who she was when she was here. But there's hope now. Betty sees the possibility of a new version of herself, one who's worked out the stiffness in her scar tissue and is reaching out, ready to reconnect with the world. One who's not resistant to surrounding herself with friends and loved ones more. The end. God. Wow. Just wow. I love that. That was such a good visual novel. I refuse to do the bad ones. I refuse. But if you want to get it to support this creator, this movement, all of it, their stance, I highly encourage you to. That being said, I hope the rest of you, whoever may still be here, have a great rest of your night. Much love as always. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.